Did you just throw your phone?
No, I did not throw the phone. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Beg Pardon, podcast that dares you to say it again. As always, I'm Anthony, joined by Carlos.
What's up?
Yeah, and we're being canceled. No, but seriously, we are being canceled. Today's episode is about cancel culture, and just as easy as I could get on here and tell you guys that we're being canceled in one night and out the next, that seems to be the pattern with so many businesses as of late in the media. In the age of the Me Too movement, the cancel culture movement kind of coincided with that. Again, I want to make a distinction between those two, but they did start around the same time because you had actual criminals, i.e. Harvey Weinstein, involved in the Me Too movement that coincided with us canceling them. Canceling them could have meant not purchasing their products anymore, not tuning into their TV shows anymore, not buying their music anymore, starting boycotts, but has it gone too far? So today, that's kind of what we're going to talk about. Carlos, did you want to kind of fill us in on the latest company to be facing backlash in the face of cancel culture?
Yes, so the latest company is Intimate Sweets. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually...
Would you say Intimate Sweets?
Intimate. The little cakes.
I didn't even know what that was.
You don't know what Intimates are?
No. I thought you said Intimates, like sweets, like body chocolate? Like I didn't understand what that was.
Good Lord. Now, the Goya company, which I should say, you and I, are very familiar with, as are plenty of people around the country and outside of the country. Goya right now is going through, I wouldn't say harsh boycotts, because I haven't seen anybody get too harsh about it, but some strong boycotts because of comments that were made while the president CEO of Goya was actually doing something positive with the president. So that's what basically is going to
donating to food banks. Yeah.
Yeah, donating
all across the United States, I think.
I want to say yes.
Yeah.
I can double check though, really quick.
But anyways, so as Carlos is looking that up, you have an individual, and that individual more or less align themselves with the ideology or perceived ideology. I'm not even going to say that. Perceived ideology of the president of the United States. And he did not outright say, I support building that wall. I support keeping kids in cages. I support not wearing a mask. He didn't say any of that. All that he said, or at least the comment that drew the most criticism, was we are blessed to have him as our commander-in-chief, or something along those lines.
We are blessed to have him as our president.
Yeah, we are blessed to have him as our president. So, in this day and age, instantly, without at least hearing a statement from him afterwards, everybody took that, and by everybody, I mean most liberal news outlets and the entertainment industry, especially, took that as I support everything Donald Trump does, everything that he stands for, everything he has not, and will do in the future. So that started a hashtag boycott Goya kind of cancel culture endorsed by celebrities. Endorsed by politicians, liberal politicians, that is now being consumed by the masses, and you have people, I see it in my news feed, on social media, boycotting Goya for this gentleman's views, perceived ties to the President of the United States. Is it okay? Is is the right thing to do boycotting Goya products to send their message in opposition? Is it the right thing?
This is one of the few times you and I are going to agree and disagree in the same breath. Because do I think that what he said in the climate of today, knowing the market that you serve, was an appropriate comment? No. But he was just, from everything I've read, he just did something positive, and then was basically, instead of saying thank the president for the platform to do this, he took it a step further and said, you know what, I'm going to give him even more credit. And that's when he said we're blessed to have a leader as Trump right now because he's a builder, is what he said. I don't know how, taking the temperature of what the culture is today, how he thought that was going to play out. Because there was only one way it was going to play out. So whether the boycott or not is, the good thing to do, the wrong thing to do, he had to know in the back of his mind what he was about to say could have ramifications later. Like I said, if he
so should he have just shut up?
He should have just said thank you for the opportunity and called it a day. Not said we're blessed to have someone who, again, the community you serve has done nothing to help.
Would you? And again, but I feel like that's it. I feel like that's a matter of opinion. I feel like that is a matter of opinion. Mm-hmm. There are we both know Hispanic Latino voters who disagree with Trump and do not support him, and we know Hispanic Latino voters who do support Trump.
Or die hard.
And what he's done, yeah. So I think that's a matter of opinion, and I also think that had he stood there and said, we need to do everything. Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me this platform. Now, while you guys go out and vote in November, please vote for Joe Biden because he's going to fix this country. If he would have said that on national television, then the same people obviously boycotting him would be like, I don't care if you don't eat beans, buy Goya pinto beans. Like, it would have been everywhere. Why? Because it aligns with the thinking of the left. And at least from my experience, the left is much more involved with cancel culture than the right. At least in my experience. What is socially acceptable, which is not Donald Trump, it is not the right. Well, now Republicans, and there are even some Republicans who have tried for years now to distance themselves from Donald Trump because of this. Because of this what has happened is Donald Trump, at least from my experience, is not an accurate depiction of the Republican Party. It is now synonymous with one another because he ran as a Republican and everything is very much left and right. But there were so many, like, if you sat Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan next to each other, two very different people, part of the same party, George Bush Sr., George W. Bush, like, all the same party, very different, and some vocally oppose Donald Trump. Now I don't think they're gonna vote for Joe Biden, but they're not voting for Donald Trump either. But somehow he's become synonymous with the Republican Party because I think there wasn't enough of a shift of the Republican Party saying, hey, we do not believe in what this person is saying. We have a two-party system in this country. That's a debate for another show on whether or not we should. But we have a two-party system in this country, so he had to fit in somewhere. And I mean, Trump was a Democrat for the longest. Until 2014, 2012? Between 2012 and 2014, whenever he decided to, start the whole birther movement. I don't know if he saw his with the far right, and he was like, that's my way of getting to the White House, not the left. I don't know what his thought process was or what his ideology was whenever he decided to switch political parties, but that's what's happened. And like I said before, I don't think that we would be having this conversation if he would have told everyone to go out and vote for Joe Biden. I don't.
I mean, there's water in that. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a case to be made for that. That you're right. We might not be having the conversation because again, I think if it was any other president, if it was any other Republican president, you would just basically be like, "Oh, you don't have to say that. Like we don't like him, but you don't have to say that," and that would have been it. But when you openly endorse someone like him, it's not even a political like party thing anymore. Now it's become like you're essentially endorsing like the boogeyman. Like he is looked at in terms of horrendous, like criminal, not just bad president. And I think that's where the spin came.
Who creates that narrative? Who creates the narrative? Who creates the narrative for you to see? Again, the media does. The media does. We get sound bites. We get altered sound bites of every conversation that is had, left and right. We get altered sound bites, edited sound bites of the narrative of the story that they're trying to tell.
Sure.
And again, for any of the viewers that know me, I feel weird even having to preface this by saying I personally do not support Donald Trump. I don't. But I do support one's ability to I do support the free exchange of ideas. I do support disagreeing. I do support debate. I support all of these things that I feel are at risk of being eliminated simply because we don't like how someone thinks. This is different than saying I don't support Donald Trump for what he has or has not done, what he has allegedly done. We no longer support Goya products because I don't like the way he thinks. I don't like the way you think. You haven't done anything criminal, sir. But I'm going to make it my mission with my platform to eliminate your success and this company's success, who, by the way, employs countless Hispanic and Latino employees, services areas all over the southern part of the United States, Mexico, Central America, South America. So the same reason why we're like, we're going to boycott Goya because of Trump's stance with the Latino community by punishing a company that is an asset to the Latino community. That's what I don't understand. It seems very, very backwards to put ourselves in this kind of position as a country whenever we just don't like the ways. And again, this is perception. He didn't say, I love that Trump is building this wall. I love Trump's history with Latino and Hispanic voters. He didn't say any of that. He said we're blessed to have him leading this country. That could mean, we can't say definitively what that means. Yes, we can assume, just like the mainstream media assumed and painted this picture. Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't. But we were just so quick to be like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I think it's more, you have the perfect storm right now for that to happen. So you have a lot of pent up frustration with, he's literally done things that no one batted an eye at, really. Like, he's been able to do so many things that people were like, are you going to stop him? And in terms of, like, we do get sound bites, you're right, from both CNN, Fox News, everyone gives you sound bites. But he gives you raw, untapped, unfiltered Donald Trumpisms every day, almost on the hour, with his tweets. Every day. So no one has to soundbite that. He himself is like, I have so much knowledge to give to this world that I must tweet everything that goes through my mind, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no filter, there's no trap door that's like, this is probably an inside thought, or this is a thought I should tell my wife. No. He says it straight out of his mouth. So people take that, the raw, untapped version, and run with it, and they make stories on that. Why? Because he said it. And I don't think also. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was say I don't think also that it helps that, like I said, he's never made it one of his platforms to make any Hispanic community feel like he's going to have your back for something. So again, this is me, this is my mind. If I worked for Goya right now, when I heard him say that, listening to this man's track record, what you basically told me was, if he signs a law that affects you and endangers you, I'm not helping you. They will come and I won't stop them, is what it sounds like to me. And I'm sure that's what it sounds like to a lot of people who are boycotting and a lot of workers, is it's that sense of fear of, he cannot be stopped. And now you're telling me as a company you won't help me either when he does that. And I think that's more of what this cancel is about. It's about a lot of fear and worry got wrapped up into this, and it was kind of like you didn't see it coming, because like you said, there's such a giant proponent in the community that you thought, like, the one company I can trust to have all of our interest, there, you shot it all down with this, what people are looking at as an endorsement, essentially. And like I said, no one endorsed him.
It wasn't, correct.
I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying he endorsed him. I'm not saying I saw him with a MAGA hat on driving down the Florida highway. I'm not saying I didn't. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying I saw that, though. But what I am saying is that in the climate of today, with the person you have, it was the perfect storm of bad comment, bad time, bad person. And everyone kind of wrote their story together and pieced all the things together into making this narrative of, okay, so by default, Goya saying we're blessed to have a leader like him basically says we don't care about the community we serve, we don't care what he's done to the community we serve, and we hope he gets 4 more years. That's basically the narrative everyone just wrote in a matter of 45 minutes, maybe?
Maybe even less.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that we've gone too far. We've gone too far. I support canceling criminals. I support canceling. If I could, and again, there's a difference in, like, Harvey Weinstein, right? Criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Facts. Criminal.
Yeah.
But somehow I think there are more people who are like, I'm not buying Goya products. We're going to cancel Goya products. Those same people who cancel Harvey Weinstein, by that logic, you need to cancel anything he's been involved in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see people boycotting those films.
Sure.
By the same logic, I mean, that's what we would need to do. And I just don't think that it's going to put us in a better position as a country if we constantly try to eliminate people out of the public sphere for simply having a different opinion than the majority, the mainstream. I won't even say majority. The mainstream opinion. If you don't share the mainstream opinion, get out. That's very dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. I mean, again, this is an extreme example. But I mean, look at what 1933 Berlin, 1934 Berlin, 1935, 36, 37, 38. Like, you have somebody who was very charming, I guess, in a way. I wasn't there. I don't think I would have been charmed by Hitler, but somebody who rallied around this perfect storm, like you said. World War I had ended. Germany got the brunt end of the stick. It was awful for them. They're experiencing massive famine. No one had their backs. everyone was basically spat on Germany, and then you have Adolf Hitler, who had this very warped mind and worldview, being able to take up this mantle because everyone was just desperate.
Yeah.
And then he convinces all of these people of this new world order, and that's what happened. And he eliminated any differing opinion. They controlled the media. They controlled everything that came out. I mean, you could talk, in a present day experience, we could talk about China. We can talk about what's going on in Hong Kong. I don't want that here. And that's what that is to me. I, as a consumer, should be able to, as a consumer of news, as a consumer of what's going on, I should be able to go somewhere and get the truth. And I can't. I can't. From nowhere. That's dangerous to me. And if somebody has an opinion that doesn't necessarily line up with what that mainstream media is pushing towards me, then they better get off that platform, because we're about to shove them off. How dangerous. People don't like Donald Trump. People don't like Donald Trump because he says what I am sure, 100% sure, other presidents have thought. Just didn't say it. What's worse? Saying it or thinking it? To me, they're the same.
In one breath, you can say they're the same, but that's like also saying, like, you know, what's worse, the guy who holds the gun to your head or the one who pulled the trigger? You know,
you had a guy, but are you talking like two people in the same location? Like, there's one guy holding the gun, another guy comes up and puts his finger in there.
He's like, you didn't have the guts to do it yourself.
Right. Sorry, I was confused by that.
No. I think that's the same kind of thought process. Is, you know, regardless of, in that analogy, regardless of what they thought, it never affected what they did.
Did it?
Or how they changed the cultural perspective in the country itself. You have people who are outright screaming and ranting and raving all of these things that, again, you would have never thought somebody would say before, because it's ugly and it's horrendous, some of the things that people are saying or even thinking now, because he made it acceptable to voice that vocally, to encourage that, to be like, no, that's the pride you feel, get it out, let that pride out. And people ran with it. And now, whether he's proud of it or not, that beast is running rampant, and he's not stopping it.
But at least you see. At least you see. Like, I would rather have a company, say Goya did support the president and was like, we endorse the president. As Goya, they didn't. I'm just using this analogy in the show for the audience. We support, as this company, I'm a representative of Goya Foods. I and this company back Donald Trump. At least I know where they stand. Yeah. At least I know where they stand. To me, I have more respect for that than I do Disney, who backs liberals, Democrats, socialists behind closed doors and furthers an agenda that I don't know about. Unless I take it upon myself to look it up. But they're not going to come out. Why? Why wouldn't they do that? Because they're like, well, we don't want to alienate. I'm sure we don't want to alienate our audience. Everyone's our audience. The world's our audience. Everyone's our audience. Everyone's here. Okay, so if you have a problem with saying that out loud, maybe you shouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. If you're like, hey, we're for everyone, then we need to be for everyone in thought, practice, and action. Not just make it appear to be. Obviously, you're not, because you financially contribute. You financially contribute in a way to push a certain agenda. Private, public company, whatever. You're pushing a narrative. You're attempting to push a narrative. But you're not letting people publicly know that you're pushing this narrative because it may upset some people. Then maybe you shouldn't do it. If you're that worried.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line between cancel and you made a really dumb decision. There's a fine line. So, like you said, straight up criminal acts, cancel. People like, again, the Harvey Weinsteins, the Kevin Spaceys, people like that. People like Bryan Singer, even, who not a lot of people are talking about, but Bryan Singer, take the time, kids, it's worth the Google. He's pretty predatory. But he's still making movies. But I think people who say stupid things with no track record of ever being what they're saying, whether they're saying it for shock factor, whether they're saying it for this, whether they're saying it for that, I think their whole everything needs to be taken into consideration. Because if I said something stupid to you, you know me, so you'd be like, that was just stupid. But if you didn't know me and I said that stupid thing, you would think that's how I was all day, every day, 24/7. And I think some people, like 10, 15 years ago, did a stupid tweet that they thought was funny. Again, never funny, some of the tweets that they do. But everyone that works with them currently is like, no, they've grown, they were stupid, they did something stupid, that's not them anymore. Multiple people can say that, but we as a public have already made up our minds that we know better because we saw that tweet and this person's ugly. It doesn't matter the countless people who come to their defense. It doesn't matter the countless people who are like, that was a young, stupid mistake, they've grown, they're nothing like that, they're charitable, they're this. That doesn't matter because we've already built the narrative for us. And I think that's the scarier thing in terms of the cancel culture, is how fast we're learning to build narratives out of nothing.
But why is it that somebody said something that you don't know the context of? Why is it stupid? How can we say what he said is stupid whenever you don't know the context of what he was saying? That's what I'm talking. That's what I feel like is dangerous. We can we can say someone's actions are stupid without even knowing the context of what they're saying. That's dangerous to me.
In my analogy, the stupid was essentially the James Gunn type tweets, or making light of serious situations with, well, I have dark humor, or no. I laugh at dark humor things in my own life.
I thought you were saying the Goya CEO, what he said was stupid.
No. I'm just saying in terms of cancel culture itself, people who have made, comments to be edgy or funny or whatever, you don't realize you've crossed a line.
Yeah.
If you do that again after somebody told you, hey, not what you want to go for, not the brand you want, and you do it again, now that's who you are. Because you don't see anything wrong with it.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that should play more into the cancel culture. And I'm not saying also people who are like, oh, I apologize, I didn't know my comments. No, you knew. You're sorry you got caught. I'm talking about it's been a decade, maybe, since they made a stupid joke or a stupid whatever, never did it again, multiple people vouch for them, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, you did that one thing in 2010, so you said that one joke. Again, I'm not talking about a pattern. I'm not talking about, a football player now who makes a really racist remark and the next day is like, oh, I learned from my mistakes. No, you didn't. You're trying to save face. That's how you felt. Just be honest and say that's how you felt. There's a difference between those things. And I think cancel culture becomes all or nothing. Either everyone's canceled because of this or no one's canceled. And it's not. Like, there is a parameter for what you should be canceled for. And again, we talked about it right before the show, but DC and Warner Brothers is having the same situation right now. Just to touch on it briefly, there's an actor who made some really stupid comments and really stupid tweets, which I don't agree with at all, back in 2012, I want to say, and just lost his job recently because they resurfaced. One, we all had jobs. We all go through background checks. How no one saw this and thought this was a problem is beyond me. So maybe that speaks to the entertainment industry, that you need to really do some research on who you hire. But also, this is another company who hasn't fired or even made a comment on both Amber Heard and Ezra Miller, who was on audio saying how she beat Johnny Depp and calling him all types of names after she dragged his name through the mud. and Ezra Miller, who's on video choke slamming a girl into the pavement, and neither of them have gotten a termination notice from Warner Brothers. There's no comment on them from Warner Brothers. There's nothing. So, again, it's one of those things that if you're going to, as an audience, rally and cancel this dude for his decade-old tweets, because, again, they were stupid and insensitive, and I, again, cannot say this enough, I don't endorse that at all, but you're staying quiet on people who are literally physically assaulting fans and spouses. I don't see, where the parameter lies, and I think sometimes that's just kind of how cancel culture is. It's just you pick and choose who you cancel depending on how you view what they did.
Correct.
That's not okay.
Correct. It's picking and choosing. It's the same thing I was about to say. Whenever you have somebody like Robert Downey Jr., who had a horrendous drug problem, everyone loved this redemption story. Everyone loves his redemption arc. Everyone loves it. Why? Why? Because drug addiction is considered now socially a sickness, right? It's considered a disease. Drug addiction specifically is considered a disease. People the moral compass of the country. I'm not saying I even disagree with it. I'm just using this as an example. The moral compass of the country is wow, this person's really down on their luck. I feel so bad for them. I love the space that he is in now. Let's support him in everything that he does because it's socially acceptable. Drugs and alcohol especially. Everyone loves seeing people come back from that. But if you're addicted to pornography, you're a pervert. Even now, nobody talks about pornography addiction because it's still in that phase where people are So if he was addicted to pornography for countless years, cheating on his wife with prostitutes all around the world, would it have been the same? Doubtful.
We call him a senator.
People, right? Yeah, we'd call him a senator. We'd call him a philanderer. You know what I mean? It would be absolutely different, and it's because we cherry pick what people done wrong. And before anyone comes at me in the comments for saying what I just said, pornography addiction and having consensual sex with prostitutes all around the world is different than sexual abuse. So no one come at me saying that I was comparing sexual abuse to alcohol addiction, because I was not. Pornography addiction is also, I view that as a sickness. I view pornography addiction the same way I view alcoholism and drug addiction. But that is the comparison that I'm trying to make, is that we cherry pick what we like, what we don't like, and who can come back from it. Right? If you're of color now and you're experiencing something, I feel like there's more of a backing to get this person back into a good place than if you were white. I don't feel like it's a great time to be white. Because of the barometer of this country.
Sure.
And
I think that's another topic, though.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, we'll make that into an episode.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say I think it is tough right now for, like you said, to be white, because again, you again, please don't take me out of context. But like Carl said, it's tough to be white. No, he didn't. It's not as hard as I'm making it sound right now. But in the sense
correct.
Of
everyone's going to take what we're saying out of context, and do not take it out of context. We're not saying it's tough to be white living your daily life as a white person. Correct. We're talking about the context of cancel culture and the context of public perception of white people. We're not talking about the day-to-day life of white people.
Correct.
Which we don't know because we are not. So.
No, I have no idea what that life is like. But if you are a straight white male, you really have to be cautious of what you say, because you could offend a multitude of groups and not know, because of either A, you don't care, or B, you're just not knowledged in that offended me, because, and this is the part where a lot of people are going to get pissed at me for, but a lot of minorities have always let their friends slide with super racist jokes or offensive jokes because they were your friend. So you built this into them thinking that, oh, I can say that because that's my friend. And
Or I know that person. I know them. I know
correct.
that they're not like that.
Really quick, a crash lesson in if you don't know they're racist or not. Okay? The easiest way to tell is if they're your friend and they say, well, you're not like one of them. What the does that mean? Or you can pass for something else and they tell themselves that all the time is that, well, I mean, they're not really Hispanic. Look at him. Case in point. People look at me all the time and are like, oh, I mean, he can pass, so he's okay. No, he's probably more prideful than most that you know. So I do not play that game of, oh, you can make those jokes around me. It's fine. I think it's funny. No, you will not do that. But some people have made it okay to make these jokes, make racist jokes, especially in the Hispanic community. People have who grew up in country settings made it okay for people to be like, oh, that let him do that job, blah blah blah, and then you laugh it off because you're uncomfortable instead of being like, that's not funny, it's extremely racist. But you have to realize that you played a role in that because you never stopped it. And right now, there are
What
a
is that?
lot of
Silence is complicity? Going on with the Black Lives Matter movement?
there are a lot of white people who are like, hey, I realize now the jokes I made were inappropriate, even though
Yeah.
people let me make them. I want to learn, I want to do better. Kudos to you. But there are some who are still like, this is America, I can say what I want, I'm going to keep making these jokes, and they're not funny, they're extremely offensive, and you're going to say it to the wrong person one day, and your hands better be as fast as your mouth. So, with that being said, the cancer culture needs to realize there's a fine line that you flirt with between canceling and between educating. And
Let's get back to educating people. I love nothing more than to see people do. And for those that you personally know me, I am not a huge fan of Kevin Hart. I am not a huge fan of Kevin Hart at all. Yes, Carlos is. I'm not as an artist. I'm not a huge fan of his at all. But that is a prime example of educating somebody from saying things that he said in the past. Why don't you let this individual grow? Quit trying. Every time this person tries to accelerate or do something else with their career, you throw that back. Now, whether or not the communication that he has had with people after that have been done in a way that was acceptable, I personally don't think that they were. I think that's his problem, is that the way and the manner in which he addresses things is ridiculous. However, since that has happened, does he make jokes like that anymore? No, he doesn't. He has never done that since. I feel like he was educated on what is acceptable and what is funny now, because it's far different from whenever Richard Pryor was saying it. He was educated on what is funny, what is not, made corrections, apologized in his way, was not reciprocated, but apologized in his way, and every time that this man tries to grow, cancel culture doesn't let him.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, you better enjoy the seat that you're in, because you're not moving. We need to get, like you just said, we need to get back to educating people and watching people be successful after. That's what I want. I would love nothing more than for President Trump to get on TV and be like, I was wrong about masks. I was wrong. I was wrong about the role that they played, and I'm going to do better. But I promise you, if he did that, the left wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't. They would still try to find a way to malign the way that he said it, the manner in which he did. Even if he wore a mask starting today, like he did at Walter Emory, starting from today till the end of his presidency, they would still find a way. Because that's just where we are now. But I would love for nothing more than to hear him say that and change his behaviors.
That's the key.
Instead of just canceling somebody repeatedly, whether they change their behaviors or not. It's unfortunate.
I think the key to cancel is, did your behavior change?
Yeah. Let us know what you guys think on the episode. Cancel culture specifically. Has it gone too far? Is it not far enough? What should there be limits to what is being canceled? But let us know. We'd love to hear your comments. Make sure you give us a like and follow on social media. All the links, as always, are right below this video for you guys to see. And thanks for tuning in this week. While we're still around.
And as always,
we haven't been canceled yet.
Yeah. If we're making it to next week, please tune in again.
Yeah.
And as always, though, we have the audio version in case you're working out or you're cleaning around the house or you just want, a little soft-spoken stuff in your ear. That's where we come in, folks. But as always, he's been Anthony, I've been Carlos, and remember, sometimes it's better to educate than cancel. Until next time.